U.S. and Pakistani officials confirmed that a U.S. drone strike killed al-Qaeda's second-in-command. It's the biggest setback to the terror network since the death of Osama bin Laden. Abu al-Libi died this morning in a village in northwestern Pakistan. The White House says the death of al-Libi is a big blow to al-Qaeda because no one else in the terror network has the expertise that he had. It's the latest in a string of al-Qaeda leaders that have been taken out since the Navy SEALs killed Osama bin Laden. Joining us on America's Radio News to talk about this is Dr. Tawfik Hamid. He's the chair of the Study of Islamic Radicalism with the Potomac Institute for Policy Studies. Dr. Hamid, how are you?
Fine, thanks.
And thanks for joining us. Well, what does the death of al-Libi mean for al-Qaeda?
It means a lot. It means the U.S. can infiltrate their groups and can reach them, and this can really give a big blow to them at the leadership level and can decrease the recruitment at a global level, because these groups usually like to be perceived as strong groups. When you kill someone at the position of al-Libi, you show them that they are infiltrated, they start to mistrust one another, and they feel weak. And the feel of defeat here is vital, really, to defeat these groups.
Well, if al-Libi was number 2, who's number 1 at this point? It's
Dr. Ayman al-Zawahiri, who I personally met one day in my life.
You did?
Times, yes.
What was that like?
He was very charismatic, passionate speaker, and he was a strong believer in the concept of jihad. Mm-hmm. You can tell that this man is created to be a leader. I did not expect back then that he would reach that level of leadership, but certainly he did. And again, killing these people, that's the most important point, in my view, is that killing al-Libi or even Ayman al-Zawahiri is a great setback for al-Qaeda. However, we should not see this at the end of the story, because as long as the ideology that generates new leaders and new jihadists continues to work, then we are facing a real problem. Mm-hmm. So in my view, the most important thing to add to the military component of the war against terror is a psychological warfare operation, and effective one, I mean. And number 2, through education, you can prevent young Muslims from becoming radicals. Education that encourage critical thinking and reinterpret the religious text in a different way. Without adding these 2 components, just military attacks on selected targets will have really a limited role in the long-term solution for the problem.
Well, Dr. Hamid, that was exactly what I was thinking. It's like the U.S. is playing whack-a-mole with al-Qaeda. Once one goes down, another one pops up, as long as you have what you're calling the philosophy of hate there, because we're not necessarily targeting or fighting a specific group of people, right? It's an ideology.
Absolutely. And number 2, when you attack these individuals, locally the people react against the United States. And here is another role for strategic communications, is to show them that what's happening to them is the outcome of the al-Qaeda attack on the U.S. on September 11th. In other words, to redirect the Afghan anger or the anger of the people around or civilians who have been killed, to redirect the anger of the population against al-Qaeda, not against the U.S. If I am a young Afghani now or Pakistani and my father was killed in a drone attack like this, if I felt that this is the outcome of the act of bin Laden in September 11th, then my anger can be directed toward bin Laden, not toward the U.S. That's vital to redirect this anger against the Taliban and al-Qaeda as well.
Wow, that's going to take a lot of work. I can't even imagine, Dr. Hamid. We're talking about people, if indeed someone lost their child or their father, like you mentioned. These are passions that run deep, and it's not easy to change someone's mind about that. I mean, you see that with terrorism against Israel and all the fighting going on in the Middle East. It just seems like just one up on another in the hatred.
Yeah, absolutely. It's deep in the mind, and that is the root cause of all the trouble is hatred, as you just mentioned. That's the first impulse that moves a human being from being an innocent child to become a terrorist in Hamas organization, in al-Qaeda, or wherever you call them. They are driven by hatred, and without dealing with this psychological component, which I really called Brainistan, not Pakistan or Afghanistan, Brainistan, because it's the impulse of hatred is what really transforms into terrorism at another stage. And without dealing with this stage in the mind and the brain, it's great to attack these criminals. However, it's not enough to really de-root the problem.
Fascinating, Dr. Hamid. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Dr. Tawfik Hamid is the chair for the Study of Islamic Radicalism with the Potomac Institute for Policy studies talking about taking out that second in command in al-Qaeda.